that Gen.G and Entis Force are playing right now. To me, they look scared. They don't look like the confident team that they should be. Entis Ace is playing their game. Love what they're doing. They're diving center circle around phase 3 or 4 and just holding down that position as best they can. That is their game. They are sticking to it, and that's why they're up there in the leaderboard.
Secret for success from Paper Thin there coming, and all you gotta do is have the confidence. Plane path starting up over Zarky and ending in Milta Power. So a couple of early drops coming in there. You can see Navi making a little bit of a modification, it looks like. A lot of teams probably gonna be dropping right out from the center. I feel like the last set of circles in game number 2 were the catalyst for the action. We had a very centralized circle in the first game, very calm, reflective, not a lot of interesting rotations coming into play. But this time we've got a little bit cooler of a plane path, and that might be kind of setting up a little bit of interesting action depending on where this first circle goes.
Yeah, this is one of these more fair plane paths where just about every team can kind of get where they want to go in a relatively reasonable amount of time. Now, what's going to be really interesting for me is watching what TSM is going to do here. It looks like their drop is pretty good, and they're going to be ahead of the other teams because they've been going military base, so they need to be the first ones to get down and get those vehicles to make sure they can get to Millie on time and come back fully equipped.
GX had themselves a very good last game. I mean, it was a lot of trouble, but then no surprise, North America versus North America happens all the time, especially in those in-game circles like that. We just love to kill each other, but GX figuring out a way to capitalize off of it, move into a good position. Where's that first circle going? Opposite side from last round, still a ton of water, and looks like we're heading over towards Lumberyard.
Well, I tell you what, everyone's getting a circle in their favor today. No one can complain too much about these circles. We got a far left, a center, and now a far right. Everyone is having equal opportunity.
I mean, yeah, it's still PUBG players are going to find a way to complain about it on social media somehow. Love the guys, but it's always about those first circles. All right, here we go. We've got Rumblers that have a nice set of control, as well as Genesis holding down his position right next to Force, separated line north and south, and we've seen this very regularly. Everybody's just very comfortable with each other. Like, no, you take that area, but the moment a car engine starts, that's whenever the bullets start flying.
Well, I like what Entis Force did in the first game. They were the first ones to leave Pachinki, took some shots at Genesis, nothing really connected, but then they didn't follow up. They didn't try to stay ahead of Genesis. Genesis leapfrogged them and was one of the teams that blockaded them.
So last time, Force actually made the shift over to this position first. And now we have Profi coming over, getting this angle for it. Curious to see if he's maybe waiting to see something happens out of this. Force is still in their looting stage right now, so might not have the best vision line back over here towards us. So this might be an easy kill being set up by Genesis, depending on how Force decides to play this out. But with the way that the circle's set, I'm venturing to say a lot of these teams are going to be moving very early.
Yeah, this definitely looks like Genesis trying to kind of take advantage of maybe some tendencies they've seen from Entis Force. We'll see if that plays through. There you can see Lazarus on your screen making their way in and around Yasnaya. They've got a couple members north and a few members south, so they're spreading out, taking up a lot of territory in the northern part.
This is interesting with Purdy being set up to this position. There's a lot of teams that might opt into coming into the northern part of the circle along that little bit of land that's right next to the lake north of Yasnaya. They might be leaving him behind to maybe get a kill point or two, or maybe just scout out a little bit more information. The rest of the team already in movement, except for him and Luke, who are both in very interesting track positions.
This is a really big split for Lazarus. It's really quite fascinating. Luke can watch the teams on the western edge of this circle, kind of relay some information. Now you've got Alo and his partner in crime here moving up onto Sting Divine.
It's scouts versus scouts right now. Lazarus coming up with 2. Looks like Nicky's realizing, okay, this might be a little bit too hazardous. Going to go ahead and retreat back away from this. So that's going to allow Lazarus to have control over those building complexes. A couple of rotations still coming in, but Nicky's got to watch out. We have Althak right down below this in rotation as well, but Levi's managed to get the shots out and should buy a little bit more space. But it's going to be Ace that's in a little bit of trouble as a couple of shots come their way.
Yeah, Ace looks like they're trying to set up their 2-2 split potentially that they want to do. They might be forced to all group together as there are members of QM in the middle of them. You can see them right there in front of them going to the warehouse. You got Liga and GYY setting up inside of there. So this might kind of throw off Entis Ace a little bit as a couple of their members may be rolling up into the Alamo.
So Alamo has a nice strong angle back on a lot of the different points of Warehouse. Warehouse can be strong depending on how you play it, but also has a lot of open space around it, so it could lead to some long-range shots coming through and getting a couple of knocks. So Ace looks like they're just going to go ahead and opt into playing a different section of this while letting QM have that Warehouse.
Yep, this is pretty safe stuff from Entis Ace. They're just going to get dead center circle, split up a little bit in there. Pretty typical what we've seen from them. A few late rotations coming in, and this is Entus Force and Genesis moving through, and this time it is Entus Force ahead.
I like this. Look at how Genesis is playing right back behind Force, seeing if anybody is shooting at them. Until they see Force stop, they know that they have a safe path to use this for, so they're trying to cut back over, make it towards Nerf, and they have Summer that's playing this high ground position for VC Gaming, so a little bit of separation coming out. Now the trap's starting to get set as Force is coming through. It's going to be Nerf taking a couple of shots back over towards Kale. Kale has the high ground and the grenade, just trying to line this up. Does manage to get the knockback over from it. Nerf gets away from it and should be able to walk up on the other side of this rock and get the shots, and easy kill. But no! He gets shot from another angle, and it's going to be DJ Boy coming up and saying, no, both those points are mine.
Wow, DJ Boy steals 2 points here. Longster getting in on the action as well, as now H-Win is down. K-Mine trying to get the smoke, seeing if he can get the res onto them, and that is 2 members down here for Genesis if H-Win does go down.
If there's one thing players should start taking notice of, trying to play this location early in this stage, probably phase 1 into phase 2, it feels like every single time you go to the top of those hills around Shelter, just so you know where the entrances are, you're gonna get shot. And a lot of these teams are trying to opt into it for a safety play, trying to play center of circle, and it just hasn't been working too well for them.
Yeah, it can be really challenging, of course. These teams study very hard. They watch the rotation patterns that the other teams like to go through, so they'll set up traps for them for sure. I want to talk about some teams that are making late rotations. Na'Vi was up in Zarki, so they're coming through by the bridge to the east of Razak right now. Sun Sisters coming along the north side of Yasnaya. GEX was northern Georgia Pole. They are now centering up a little bit on the northwestern side, and Tempo Storm and Gen G coming in very late from the west.
Talk about how nerve-wracking it is to push down into Shelter in those bunker areas whenever you're at a stage like this, knowing that some of the best players in the world could just be hiding behind any box in any corner in the low ground positions. Everybody has to take it so slow. Meanwhile, Tempo Storm coming in from their Gatka drop. Going to be making over towards the safe zone. Be curious to see how they play that. Looks like Na'Vi up towards their north by quite a ways, opting to play along edge. Going to be a couple of interesting modifications coming in, talking about the rotations that you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, Sun Sister now making their way along the eastern coast, heading down towards Lipovka-ish, and they've got Lazarus that is set up there. Lazarus grouped up with Alo and Civil as they bopped Divine out of Lipovka a little bit.
There is nobody for about, I'd say, 700-800 meters around Tempo Storm right now. Everybody has opted to play around the Lumberyard Hills in that farm area as well. So Tempo Storm find themselves pushing back along that line. You can see Death Road, that's where infantry is set up. I know a lot of people have been spamming 63, 63, what's going on with this lobby? There was an injury for one of the infantry players to get this started off with, so playing as 3 right now while he is getting treatment, but everything we hear, he should be fine and good to go.
Yeah, we're really hoping to see him again soon. Lynn should be back, and it doesn't seem to be anything serious. Now, Tempo Storm might roll up on them, although it looks like they're going to stop up just a bit short as some shots did come through. So Zampa's going to lead the way for Tempo Storm here. See if he can get a little bit of information as the Sharpshot and Maluk are going to head on out.
Trying to draw a little bit of bait shots their direction, seeing what's safe. Looks like Zampa's made the call out. There's nobody around them, so going to loop back over towards this position. They do have infantry split that's coming through. That's kind of a brave play if you're playing with 3 players right now, running them in 3 different positions. That makes you vulnerable, but does give you the chance of maybe getting a couple of kills, depending on how rotations go.
Yeah, and it also gives you a lot of ground to cover if the circle kind of shifts towards you and buys you a lot of time, because if you're infantry, you're thinking placement points. That's what you're really gunning for, as you're going to be disadvantaged in any team fight.
At this point, Genesis and Force just have an unlikely relationship on any part of the map that they're at. They just kind of have to split it across. Tempo Storm has a couple of shots that are coming back over towards them from Force, looking back over that direction. So losing vehicles, losing tires, having to use a lot of smoke and utility just to get these reses up. That's the hazard of this dip. You get a lot of information out of it, but you also get a lot of people that can shoot back at you.
Well, that spot is pretty exposed. You know, a lot of teams can see you, like you were saying, from a lot of different directions. Oh, my goodness.
Okay, let's go.
Oh, boy.
I said I wanted some spicy circles. Well, it's about to get real interesting. That's still, what, at least, I would say about 2/3 water moving through this. It's all Milta power right now. We do have Tempo Storm's Gustav that's made his way over trying to get this position, but it's Rumbler's home turf, and it looks like they're trying to regroup very quickly. Look at all these teams hopping inside of vehicles, just trying to carve out some section of the map because they know territory is going to be tight very quickly.
Speed and aggression are going to be the keys here. You have to get into somewhere in this circle safely first. You can see Divine, by the benefit of being south of Lipovka, they're getting right into those yellow compounds.
Look at 4 teams stacked up, and that's gonna be a nice shot coming out, and that's gonna be one of the members of QM going down. It's just a catastrophe as these different teams are trying to figure out where to stop at. Nobody wants to be the one to jump out because you could get run over. There are so many vehicles just cutting through. We got guys catching some airtime. Summer's trying to get the shots back over on this. He does manage to get one, but gotta be very cautious from those outside angles. It's just a death trap from everybody coming down from the north right now.
Everyone wants to try to get something in here. It's fitting we're in LA because there is a ton of traffic coming in. Here's Entis Ace, who's managed to get onto the southern end of Milta Power.
Halo jumps out in the face of him and manages to take him down. That was just a straight jump out and shot. Joy's trying to get a blitzer around on this and does manage to get one.
At least Joy is able to get 1 point here for Entis Ace, but Alfaka caught a little off guard there. There is just so many cars going by, there just had to be noise everywhere.
Now in a little bit of trouble. Long distance grenade's gonna go out with the bounce. I think it's gonna be just a touch short. So of course now knows that they're in some trouble off on this angle as well. Vehicle explosion's gonna go ahead and take him down. And OG and Entis Force is the 15th team eliminated.
It just a unfortunate situation for a lot of teams coming into this circle. A circle like this, it just gets crazy, and you have to be one of the first ones in here. Entis Ace has got 2 up inside, but TSM, love TSM's position here. If anybody was watching the PKL, this is a position that day1 took and ended up winning in a very similar situation.
So we've got Ace still holding the southern part of Milta Power, looking back towards TSM. TSM still 4-member strong. Gen G, like they're trying to carve out a little bit of section of this hillside that can have some nice sight lines for it. Na'Vi has just opted, nope, we want nothing to do with anything that's happening on the side of it, but there's still teams taking some shots, and that's going to be QM. Nice awareness, thinking, okay, maybe somebody's going to go for the boat on this, but not a lot of people that can really play this position. Even if we see Na'Vi make it past QM, TSM is already holding the land that's just a little bit to the south of this, can take the pot shots, and there's no safe entry point for Na'Vi to make it back landside right now.
Yeah, there's no way. TSM is going to make the call onto this. Easy peasy, 4 potential points here if they can pounce on it quickly. You can see Gustav already has eyes on them. He's going to be calling in the reinforcements from TSM. They might only need 1 or 2 over there. They don't need everybody. There just aren't a lot of good spots for Na'Vi to land until they get to the beach, but TSM is all around this peninsula.
So there is the little bit of a beachhead that's just to the south of where TSM's at, but further south than that, there's those cliffs that sometimes people try to like climb up on. Infantry is holding that position right now, so there's just no good entry point angles for Na'Vi. Looks like they're thinking about just gunning it in. You can see that they're turning the boat back towards that beachhead, thinking about just trying to pass through everything, but that's going to put them closer to everybody on TSM. The spray's starting to come out. You can see a little bit connecting, and there we go. Na'Vi is just dusted.
There was just nowhere for them to go in that boat. There was too many teams around the outside of Milta Power covering those angles. Just that's the nature of some of these brutal circles. You try something unorthodox, but it's just not working.
So you can see a lot of people still trying to play around Milta Power right now. Rumblers opting into factory. They have complete control over it right now. It is back towards the southwestern part of this circle, so a couple of teams might be trying to encroach, move into those buildings just on the outskirts away from it. You can see, I think that's going to be Vendetta that's making the push over towards it. Uncivil just looking back over towards QM, trying to get a little bit more information for this as infantry and a lot of people starting to roll up thinking, okay, we just got to start making a little bit more dangerous of pushes into this. Genesis trying to figure out what they're going to do because they have GEX just to the north.
Yeah, they're west of the circle right now. There's only 2 members left here for Genesis, H-Win and K-Mine. Some decent shots and a nice knock coming in here from H-Win with that SLR onto Leo of GEX. Now what is GEX's response going to be? They have just maybe enough time to get the res, but if that circle gets close enough to Leo, he's dead to rights, and it looks like they are going to abandon him.
Genesis still making the plays around this, but have to be so careful. Gen G playing the low part of the hill. They do have a shack to work with, but you can see so many different angles that they're weak from. PO goes for a spin back around, hits a little bit of damage, but says, no, okay, this is just a little bit too hazardous. Loki is on the outside of the safe zone right now, looking back towards GEX, trying to figure out how they're going to make a push onto this. Loki's just trying to find the position, knows that somebody's around. It's going to be Esther going down inside of that, so now more pressure back over towards Gen G. Are they going to be able to spot it out?
No.
Does line it up. Can he get a little bit of vengeance back for his teammates? Trying to get a little damage off there, but UAZ is going to reposition back behind the tree, and Loki is in a lot of trouble right now.
I was going to say this is going to be a real gut check moment for Gen G, but it is already starting off very poorly for them. Esther is gone. PO is knocked. Now we're jumping over to Tempo Storm in a battle with Vendetta. Vendetta, a shaky start to the day. Tempo Storm with a solid game number 2, despite coming out with that and maybe not the position they would have liked. They would have liked to have win that. Oh, a good grenade from Kane is going to trade with H-Win.
A lot of skirmishes happening on the outside of this. Loki's drawing a lot of tension. This firefight's just taking a long time. Still very early. Blue's going to tick hard. He has to be very cautious. The moment he starts pushing along this direction, he's going to have so many people looking back towards him. Shy away, trying to figure out where is this coming from. Loki's taking a lot of damage off of this. You can see the Blues ticking him down right now. He's actually holding a lot of time for this because you can see Genesis in a similar position. They're kind of caught up fighting another one of the Gen G members, and that's drawing a lot of attention out and away. Otherwise, GEX might be able to take the shots for him. Tempo Storm, Vendetta, still just kind of hold it up inside of this. Tempo Storm doesn't want to push the upstairs yet. It's very, very dangerous to make that push up those stairs, and you can see Vendetta set up in a lot of positions on the outside of this, waiting for the push to potentially come.
And look at who's outside. It's Edge by the door. I'm real curious if Tempo Storm has any kind of inkling that Edge is over there, because once they start going up the stairs, Edge is going to be the one who wants to come in the back and clean up Tempo Storm.
This backstab could be big. They're starting to make their way up that stairwell. Edge can sneak up right back behind him. He has the angle, goes for the shots. It's going to be nice shots coming from there. Maluk steps out, gets it down onto one, separates away from this. It's turning into a lot of trouble. There's Molotovs down inside of this position. Zampa has gone down for Tempo Storm right now. Vendetta's critical motion is off on the outside of this, not capable of helping a lot in this, and that's a really nice sneaky place to go for a res. So now Vendetta trying to regroup with their last two members.
Well, that just shows you how good Sharky's game sense is. Way to just know that somebody was going to be waiting around that corner and is able to outduel Edge there, picking up one kill for Tempo Storm. And Vendetta is backed off for now. Circle is mostly centered up because we needed to move away from the water, so not much is really going to change. Genesis is just a little bit outside of the circle by Gen G, GEX to the north.
Tempo Storm is running a 2-2 split from this position. They have two members back down towards the south, but you can see Gustav trying to spot out what's going on. He's got Iroh back behind him, but Gustav can end up sneaking right up into a position next to QM, get some shots over this, and they'll have a lot of outside control of Milta power. Depending on where these next circles go, they can have a lot of force that they can just kind of influence everything that's going on. Gustav takes those shots, doesn't get the down. Plan's starting to fall apart on that, so retreat back away. Iroh taking a couple of shots onto it, maybe regroup, try to find a different position to maybe try to make that play from again.
Well, I want to talk about TSM's positioning a little bit here and why I really like this in a circle that shifts this hard to the southeast. Ooh, some good shots by Nikki. It is you can see a lot from where TSM is, and now they're making a huge 2-2 split around Milta Power. This is basically going to give them vision of everything that is on the other side of the circle from them, assuming the circle shifts away from them to the west.
One thing we should note is Sun Sister is playing the low ground right now. Anybody that wins these fights up towards the north, around where we're looking at right now. And GX, this is ambitious. Let's just go ahead and bring a vehicle in, and let's just put ourselves in a crossfire between everyone in the world. And see you later, GX. You managed to make it in, but then you lost everything in the end.
Yeah, that was a risky push, to say the least. They were in a bit of a pickle, though. Not much available for them inside of the circle. All the good compounds already claimed, and there's actually a lot of flat ground inside of this circle, so there isn't a lot of room to work with.
Stink Divine sitting on 4 right now. They're kind of the guardians of the north at this time. They've got a lot of space and control, and they can influence rotations depending on where this next circle goes, but they also have a lot of flat land around them. If they have to move, that's going to be very dangerous for them. Tempo Storm making their push back over on this angle, and nice shots coming out from Waldo. That's going to get a lot more space. Tempo Storm now going to have an easy opportunity to make that push.
Waldo inadvertently providing some cover fire, but Taman is going to find H-Win, get a kill for himself, a point something for Gen G to hang their hat on a little bit. Now K-Mine trying to return the favor here. Here comes a smoke from Tamin as K-Mine is up behind this US. He has a tire blocking him from Tamin for now, but on the bottom of all this is Sun Sister, who is now starting to put shots at Tamin.
Sun Sister, and we also have Sting Divine that can look back up this hillside. That's why everybody's just clutching to cover right now, and you hear all these shots just peppering into it. Have to be very cautious. New circle's gonna pop up, and just nearly got away from that. Fairly centralized. Everybody that's playing around power gonna have a little bit of trouble. There is a skirmish going on with Tempo Storm as well as Indus Ace along this angle. You can see just rang the last member up. A lot of TSM members around him, so has to be very cautious on how he opts into playing this. I think Gustav might have an angle for him, so now we can see also it's gonna be infantry taking the shots off the side of this ring. Actually playing along these smokes quite efficiently. I think he managed to sneak around onto it, get some shots back over towards Rory. That's going to connect to get the down onto it. But now, I like this. It's a very guerrilla style of play. Get the shots off, move to a new position, hide out, sneak around on another side of it. But Gustav's like, no, I'm done with your games, bro.
I like the idea. I didn't like the place he decided to opt in prone there. I thought that was a bit of a misstep there. Really sneaky stuff from Ring. I thought he could have been a little more dodgy and cagey there, but he was trying to make something out of a very difficult situation. 4v1 versus TSM, not going to go your way.
It just feels like every team that ends up in front of TSM right now is in trouble. And next on that list might be Infantry. Depending on how TSM opts into playing this circle, they have a little bit of Milta power that they can still opt into play. Use those walls if they wanted to. Downside of that is anybody that stays in this position knows the moment that they have to move, since it's so close to the edge, everybody is just going to be firing back at them.
Well, I tell you what, Rumblers have got to be happy with this position they've taken up inside of the refinery. Purdy Curdy putting some shots into the wall as he's trying to get the spray onto Easy here, who is proning behind this rock. Right now, it doesn't look like Uncivil has an angle on that. Divine still inside the circle themselves in those yellow houses up on the north, and Uncivil takes a little bit of damage there.
Have to be so careful from this position because they have Sun Sister off on one angle and they have Sting Divine on another. So anytime they go for any peek, it's a lot of bullets coming their way. Infantry looks like they're scouting out. They did see the UAZ moving. So curious on how they do this. Actually looks like Point might be moving into more of an aggressive position. Know that they are in a disadvantaged position just due to numbers, but sometimes you can get that good spray. Take out the UAZ, take down a couple of players, maybe get something out of it. He might be able to line up a good grenade. We'll have to see if he wants to play this aggressive or not. That feels kind of like how they're wanting to play this situation.
I was exactly thinking the same thing. A good grenade here from Baolang could really ruin TSM's round. They are really grouped up. I love what TSM is doing here because they can keep their vehicles very safe. There's a lot of cover in this position available. So when they have to make an aggressive push, at least they'll have the vehicles available. Now, of course, anytime in modern competitive PUBG, it's really difficult to get a vehicle anywhere because of how good these players are at landing their shots. We're moving over back to Bao Ling, who is still deciding if he is going to pull the trigger on a TSM, but TSM is loading up in their vehicles. Let's see if this will be the go time for him.
I like this. Wait and see what happens. Wait until the zone closes, find out where the new safe zone is at, see if maybe they can get something out of this. And it's going to go back over next to the Rumblers and Tempo Storm. So now, how do you opt into playing this? Grenade did come out, and look at this. It just drew so much attention. Trying to hold the angle, go for the pre-shots onto it, but it's just an instant nope coming up from TSM. Walks up, takes the kill, and then walks away from it.
Longsker is able to get one knock inside of the smokes there, but there is just so many smokes down for TSM. They might be able to get this res. Yes, indeed they do. They're able to get safely inside of that building. Should be able to heal up here. We have one member left for Infantry, just Longsker. Now I'm really fascinated to watch how TSM is going to approach this next circle.
I was thinking the exact same thing. Where do they go next? They have a difficult rotation. You can see Sting Divine suffering from a similar rotation that's going to have to happen along this path. They do manage to get in that low ground with one member. It was a huge amount of casualties they took to get to this position, but they at least have something through there. Meanwhile, Levis is just trying to run through, drops down to his belly, and that looks like that's going to be his home for a while. They did manage to get two up inside the circle, but there was a huge cost.
Oh no, Michael with a little bit of an accident there. They're going to be able to get the res onto Gustav, but it's going to be later than they wanted. Two members in a US are going to transverse a lot of different teams and are going to take a lot of damage. Can they make this work?
There's
no,
one.
Rory gets out. Iroh is forced to stop at this tree.
Drops back down. Rumblers have a back angle onto this. Iroh has to be so careful. Meanwhile, the follow-up push from TSM, they're just going to go ahead and crash right along the wall. Shots are going to come through. Los has to retreat back around the angle. Two members of Tempo Storm trying to push on the other side of this has to be very, very careful. They have the sight lines. So with this, TSM retreating back. Grenade's going to come through. Gustav's going to go down last second off of that, but now Los just has those underhand tosses. He can just keep chunking off the side of this. Michael goes down as well. And then there was one for TSM, and that's Iroh out in the middle of the field.
A great couple of grenades there from Los, realizing his first one was just a little bit too far, switching to the underhand, and that is going to be TSM going down in 8th place, but they had a ton of kills in that round.
Look at this cheeky angle coming up from Cherry Poppin'. Gonna try to take a couple of shots, get some damage back over to Sting Divine, and that's just one of those angles you're never expecting.
It's just so weird. There's so many little angles you can take inside and outside of this refinery, and because of all these windows and different pipes and other, bars and other things you've got going on. So Cherry Poppins doing a nice job finding himself a little bit of an angle to put some pressure onto Divine, as now Lazarus is putting up the smoke bridge to get across the road. Uncivil and Purdy Curdy could be under fire here very shortly. Gabbo is only able to get one shot in there, though.
That's a great use of stacking smokes, knowing the terrain, and understanding the angles that you're weak from. Using this, Lazarus has managed to sneak into a position that they can get a little bit more space. Sting Divine can't really push back up on this angle as well. Grenade toss might be able to connect, but man, that's really far away, and that's kind of a Hail Mary toss, all things considered. So now, where do we go next? It's still just a little bit of factory in play. Tempo Storms Complex coming up big. K-Mine taking some shots back down towards Levis, but another little bitty lip of a ridge is giving him some cover.
Yeah, those guns don't count. You can't shoot those. They won't take damage for the players here. So Levi's is able to find just enough of a lip in front of him. Here comes Purdy Curdy as well, throwing some frag grenades in front of him, trying to see if he can get anything with those grenades, but it's going to be Levi's who is found out by K-Mine, who gets a little bit higher position. Now he's taking some damage from the Sun Sisters.
Everybody's rotating around towards the north. We have Lazarus that's making a push back over towards Sting Divine. Sun Sisters trying to figure out how they're going to make the push back over towards this. Purdy Curdy still just kind of holding this different angle, trying to hold anybody that wants to push back down in this position. The problem with it is, how is Sun Sister going to move? They have the numbers right now, but they're towards the tail end of this movement. That's going to be Sting Divine going down and a little bit more space, but now Purdy Curdy goes down in the exchange.
Purdy Curdy is knocked, but 4 kills already for him in this match. It looks like Cherry Poppin might be able to finish this off. Yes, indeed. Now Uncivil is coming alive, finding the Sun Sisters on the backside as Rumblers are putting shots into them as well. 10 kills here for the Rumblers, who are doing a fantastic job holding down this facility.
They are playing off of so many interesting angles right now as everybody's moving into these open terrain. They can just have free reign to shoot at whatever they want. K-Mine follows up with another nice headshot. Somehow Genesis is just clinging to life along this edge, and they're managing to get every little point that they can out of this game, and that's going to stack very quickly.
I mean, this might come down to a 4v4 of the Rumblers versus Tempo Storm. A NA duel. I cannot wait for that. That would be super exciting. K-Mine is stuck behind a rock. You do have critical motion left from Vendetta, just hiding as a solo behind some logs there in the northern part of the circle. So that might be the key factor in this final situation.
So we have Tempo Storm that's off to the west, Rumblers down towards the south. Critical motion in a little bit of an interesting spot. I don't think that anybody might be expecting it at this point. With 9 alive, these 3 teams active, and it looks like Microfry is going to hop in the UAZ, go for a little bit of a push out. I like that. Switch over to the cars, the secondary seat, see if maybe you can get a shot off onto it, but a little bit more control, and that's going to pay off as they are going to be in the new safe zone. Tempo Storm just has to hop over buildings. Critical motion also still in the safe zone.
Yeah, Microfry probably didn't want that UAZ to go quite so far. Could have been blown up anyway, but probably would have liked to have kept that a little bit closer. At least you can utilize it as a little bit of extra cover potentially. Critical motion, there you can see just prone. He is not going to be moving until he absolutely has to.
Yeah, that is 100% the way that it's going to go for the rest of his game. Now Tempo Storm doing their regroup. They're going to have 4 stacked up over towards this building. So a lot of control on these different angles, but not a lot of control over the circle right now. There's a lot of dead space inside of this, not easy terrain pieces to play. As you can see, Rumblers are just kind of scratching at anything they can find. Zampa knows, okay, there's probably somebody still around here. They can do the math on it. They can assume that there's at least a couple of these stragglers hiding out somewhere.
Well, it's weird because most of the cover in this circle is coming from the road, which is slightly elevated inside of this area. So both teams kind of playing around it, not really exposing themselves on either side of it. Now, eventually the Rumblers are going to have to push a little bit forward. That's why these smokes are coming up right now. They know they've got to get just a little bit further ahead, and you can see Waldo taking a great angle.
I like this. Throw the smoke line after you already sent the UAZ on one angle. Have everybody focused on that line. Send Waldo off on a different position, so that way if Tempo Storm has to move, he's set and ready to go with a flank position onto them. His position with Vendetta's critical motion, other position. If Tempo Storm has to leave this spot, which in high likelihood they will have to do, they're going to have good shots coming onto this, and it's going to make Tempo Storm's life really hard.
Well, it's going to be a really interesting situation. It's almost going to be like a battle of chicken. Who's going to make the first move? Because this is Phase 8. Phase 9 goes right dead in the center of this. Both Tempo Storm and the Rumblers are right on the edges of the blue.
All right, Zampa's starting to get a little bit more frisky off of this. Does spot out critical motion. So now it is a straight 4v4. Couple of shots going back over towards the smoke, seeing if maybe they can get a lucky down. It's going to be the Rumblers trying to move in. No cover left to work with right now. Trying to figure out, okay, how do we make this push back through it? It's all about utility right now. And Rumblers haven't had to do a lot of rotations yet, so they should still have a lot to work with. So just going to keep throwing those down, creeping closer and closer towards that center point, seeing if maybe they can get a little bit more control. But here's the thing, Tempo Storm also can use these smokes, go for these repositions. So they're using the utility that Rumblers are throwing down right now to try to find new angles. Notice Zampa's playing along the edge, way off towards the north. Does manage to spot out an angle onto one, but that's an exchange back on both sides, so down to 3 on both. Looking back over towards this, Zampa's trying to line up more shots onto it. Just gonna go ahead and flush that out. Rumblers are starting to feel the push, too many different angles. Nice spray coming out from Waldo, but now we've got Cherry Poppins on the outside, and Maluke's gonna follow it up. We got Rumblers and a lot of trouble. Waldo still playing inside the smokes, right towards the center of the circle, but 2 members of Tempo Storm are down. Zampa's making the push along one side. Smokes are starting to dissipate. That means he's going to lose his cover. It's all about listening to footsteps. Nice assumption on where he might be. Grenade's going to go out a little bit wide. Waldo's going to step up, and that's just going to hand the victory over to Tempo Storm.
Great job by Tempo Storm. That they're at the end controlling the flanks. You could see Waldo and Cherry Poppin kept trying to get on the left-hand side of Tempo Storm, but the smokes were there to cover that angle. So Tempo Storm is able to rotate north, control that area, get a few knocks, and give themselves the chicken dinner.
Luke walking away with 4 kills. The Rumblers, 3 different players sitting on 3 kills. That's going to be Microfly following it up with 2 kills of his own. But I got to give it out to Critical Motion. Veneta was in a lot of trouble very early. He somehow managed to just sneak around different parts of that circle and stay alive for so long.
I mean, it's a very undervalued skill in competitive PUBG. Being a player who can find ways to eke out points you have no business getting, especially in those positions.
I've got to say it. I have to. It's in my heart right now. Tempo Storm first, Rumblers second, Genesis fourth, and Lazarus coming in 6th. Feels good.
Tell you what, they've been playing very well today. You know, I talked to the Rumblers a lot last night. The guys are really cool. They're very nice, very personable.